Are you thinking about buying your first income property or perhaps your second one? I know that as an investor, we're always learning about the process of buying income properties. Well, I have Zeeshan with me today. Once again, thanks for coming. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me back. I thought I used up all my time last time around, but thank you.
No, we've learned so much from Zeeshan, so at the end of the day, we'd love to have you back, and thanks for that opportunity. At the end of the day, today we're going to give you 4 tips that if you're buying an income property, what should you be doing in terms of due diligence? What should you be doing every step of the way? What should you be careful about? But anyways, I'll let you take you through that. My name is Rodrigo Robalino. Thanks again for being on the show. Just wanted to kind of encompass a lot of the things that go on when you're buying an income property. Things that you need to think about, things that perhaps you're not even aware of, but this will protect you because when you're buying an income property, you're buying into a business. Zeeshan will talk a little bit about this. Make sure that at the end of the day, you understand your rights, you understand the tenant's rights, you understand what you're getting into. In a nutshell, that's what we're going to talk about today. Please, if you do find these videos of value and if you find them worth of value, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, the little bell that reminds you when the new videos are going to be coming up. At the same time, if you want to chat for 15 minutes, click on my Calendly link. It's a free call for 15 minutes where we can chat about your own personal situation. But for now, let's get into the video.
Thank you for watching this video. Before we get into it, I wanted to say that none of the information that you receive should be taken as legal advice. Please connect with a legal professional, a licensed legal professional to get the appropriate advice. The information contained in the video is for information purposes only, just as a way of educating. Hope you enjoy the video. Thank you.
Hello everyone, welcome to the video. See, once again, thanks for coming.
Thank you very much for having me.
Appreciate it. We're going to talk a little bit about buying as an investor.
Yeah.
I'm buying a property and whether I assume a tenant or whether I not. What are 4 tips you can give us?
Absolutely. So I kind of narrowed it down. It's a lengthy discussion that you can always have, but quick 4 tips. If you're getting vacant possession and you're a buyer, you're a first time or second time or whichever the situation may be, if you're wanting vacant possession, then the onus really is on the seller. At that point in time, you're just basically saying that this is my closing date and I want to close the property at this date by this date. Yep. And the seller then has to do their due diligence in terms of closing. That's awesome. That goes through like transparency in that sense. Yep. You are part of the conversation and engaging the seller.
It's great that you mentioned that, Zeeshan. We did make a video on that, and you can actually check it out over here. If you click on the link, this video will talk about communication. Even though it is the onus on the landlord at that time when selling the property, you definitely want to be involved in the process. You want your agents to be involved in the process. You want to be aware of what's going on. It is still an investment for you, and you want to make sure you're protected in that sense.
Absolutely, and you made a key point. It's your business. So treat it as your business, and just like any other business decision, be informed and educated about that decision. So speaking to the right people, getting the right information, and then kind of going from there.
Love it. So I'm an investor. I found this property. I like it. I go in, sign an agreement. What do I do next? What's
Absolutely.
happening?
So you have this situation. You want to buy this property. You sign an agreement of purchase and sale, but you also know that they're tenants. And let's say you are okay to inherit the tenants. It's good income coming from that that property that would become a rental property. So in that situation, what should you do? My 3 tips are: first of all, go do an inspection of the property. Okay, that inspection of the property gives you a baseline of what the status is, and you're going to do that any which way in the process of purchasing the property. When you do that inspection, you get to see the state of the property as well. You get to also meet the tenants, right? Once you go to the property, you can see if there's any damages or repairs that may be required, and then you can communicate that to the seller as well, saying, I don't know if this is intentional or if this wear and tear, but I'm just letting you know. Whether you do something about it, take any action on it, that's a completely different situation, but at least you are aware of it. You're not blindsided when you walk into, being a landlord. As soon as you become a landlord, you have inherited all the responsibilities and liabilities of a landlord. At that point in time, yes, the law does cover you a little bit, but you are, for all intents and purposes, responsible for that property and responsibilities and obligations to the tenant. So before you do that, make sure that you're aware of what you're walking into.
So I guess, seeing that's a great point, because you're doing this visit to the property, but you said, do your due diligence, right? If I'm the buyer and I'm buying this property, how do I protect myself? Because, I would love to know the history, right? Like history of payments. Has the tenant been paying, right? Has the tenant been a good tenant? Is this what we call a defect of the property, a latent defect that the seller has to disclose or not? Is that what the law treats it as? Like, how do I protect myself as a buyer? How should my agent protect me as a buyer? Like, what should they do? Should they have like clause in there? Like, what do we do there?
Absolutely, great question. I sometimes suggest, if you have the ability, take a contractor with you. If you're not so well versed about properties and so forth, or structurals issues about the property and so forth, and they'll be able to give you a good assessment. This should be replaced or that should be fixed and so forth. That would also give you an idea, and you will know the age of the home, how long the seller has been the landlord, those from your real estate agent, right? And once you have all of those puzzle pieces, now you start getting a more clear picture. You also want to find out whether there have been any transgressions by the tenant, right? And that you can always put it in a letter, and through your real estate agent, send it to the seller and say, I need answers to these questions. Transgressions meaning, has there been any violations in payment of rent? Have there been any damages? Have there been any issues that has led to LTV proceedings and so forth? Have there been any, what has been the outcome of those proceedings and so forth? So those are some of the questions that you definitely want to find out.
Perfect. And as long as, from what I understand, as long as the seller kind of provides that information to me, of course I can make my decision at that point, but does the seller have to disclose once those questions are answered?
So you're also working on good faith in this situation, and you're kind of expecting good faith. If the seller does lie, unfortunately, you really can't go back. But I mean, the way to look at it is, if the seller grossly omits something or neglects to inform you of a certain situation that can impact on you being a proper landlord, that's something that can be, pursued in law later on. I mean, you always have to qualify those type of situations, but at least initially, if you set your purchasing of the property conditional on having all of this information, and then if you have the opportunity to meet with the tenant when you do your inspection and so forth, you can qualify what the seller is saying, right? And once you do that, then you are better informed. The tenants may inform you of other issues which may have been neglected by the landlord, and those are things that you'll take, because as soon as you walk in, and let's say there was a broken toilet, and the landlord never fixed it, as soon as you walk in and you're the landlord, that tenant now has the right to tell you, hey, you're the landlord, my toilet's broken, and you just walked into a situation where, hey, I didn't pay for this, right? So those are things that you want to be aware of.
And part of the due diligence process, to add to that, because at the end of the day, like, this is where you find that landlords don't take this extra step, is, seek professional advice, seek legal advice from like Zeeshan, at the end of the day, to understand, especially if you're meeting the tenant, what kind of questions to ask, right? What questions you'd be asking, because you got to be careful about that too. And I know we can do another video about that, but at the end of the day, like, you got to be careful about these things. And by seeking this professional advice, you'll be able to kind of figure out, okay, like, is the seller telling me the right things compared to the conversation that I'm having with the tenant? And it is a business. Treat it as a business, like you said. I'm learning that at the end of the day, communication is key throughout the entire process. But we gotta, I'm saying we, because I'm pretending right now I'm the buyer. As a buyer, we want to protect ourselves when we're getting into the situations to make sure that we understand all the facts, right?
Absolutely. And knowing the facts is also having the right documentation. Was there a lease in place before? Was there a last month's rent deposit? Were there any other types of deposit, right? Sometimes landlords walk into a situation where there are pets in the house. And you want to be aware of all of those things, right? So having all that information, just like any other business, surround yourself with the right type of people. A real estate agent helps you broker the deal. A legal professional will help you educate on the laws of being a proper landlord, making sure that you are not incurring any liabilities more than necessary, and making sure that your rights are protected when you have to be, or if you have to be in front of the law.
No, it is so true. And I think, and I've said this in previous videos, I've made a few videos about this when buying income properties, is that you're buying into a business. A lot of people think, okay, like there's income coming in, my tenant's paying for rent. It's not the case. You got to treat it as a business. There are rights and responsibilities on both ends that we need to be aware of. At the end of the day, I've heard a few things from you, Zeeshan, which is incredible. Do your due diligence. Make sure you do the visit to the property and understand the condition of the property. Make sure to know what the seller will take care of before closing and what you will kind of inherit, right?
Absolutely.
Any transgressions that have been there, make sure you do the due diligence on the transgressions. Understand what you're taking over, do your due diligence, right? And I also heard that if you have the possibility, meet the tenant.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
So
perfect.
I think that's a lot.
It is a lot, but if you understand, if you have that overall philosophy of that this is a business and I have to understand all aspects of it, and you surround yourself with the right people advising you, then you will be safe and sound walking through this process.
Yeah.
So,
like I said before, at the end of the day, this is what we do as with our clients. One of the things we do is we provide them with all of the facts. We want to make sure that we have all the facts on the table, and then you can make the right decision for you and your loved ones. Because once you have those facts, it's easier to make decisions. The last thing you want to do is make an emotional decision. But anyways, we don't want to make this video too long. We want to wrap it up. I know that Zeeshan has a lot to go here, but thanks again for coming. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. This was a lot of fun. I enjoy being on videos with you, Rodrigo, and talking to your viewers. This is an amazing experience. Hopefully all the tips help you.
Yes.
Thank you.
No, I'm learning every time from Zeeshan. So, and at the end of the day, his contact information is below. If you do need to reach out to him, whether you're in the due diligence process or whether you're actually now a landlord and you have a few questions that you need to be clarifying, Zeeshan is there to help you out. At the same time, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to follow us. If this is of value, or perhaps someone that can find this video of value because they want to get into an income property and they're buying an income property, send it to them. I know these little tips here will actually help them make the right decisions for the long term. But thanks again for watching, and until next time.